Welcome back, everybody, to The Truth About Addiction. Today's episode is another solo by yours truly, Dr. Sam. And I was asked recently to speak at a monthly event in Beverly Hills called Monetize Talks. So it's essentially a group of entrepreneurs that range anywhere from their 20s all the way to their 50s. It is an event where a handful of speakers present their story, offer a ton of value, and then you network. I actually had the privilege of speaking at this event very soon after my book came out in 2024. And over a year later, I came back. It's about a 10-minute talk. It's just another version of one of my keynotes, except targeted toward the entrepreneur. So you have to shift and change your message based on who you're in front of. So if you haven't heard this version of my story, or you want to hear it again, or you've never heard it and this is your first time here, welcome. You're going to get to know my heart a little bit. Please like, subscribe, share with a friend who's an entrepreneur who this might help. And as always, there is a link in the show notes to book a free, totally free discovery call with yours truly. I would love to connect with you. Enjoy.
I'm super excited to introduce her. Can you get her slide up?
Okay, and we're good.
Her name is Dr. Samantha Hart. She just had a huge event, I think last night or the night before. So it was super successful. She puts on these amazing events. And I actually went to one of her events in the past as well. So she puts on amazing events, super successful entrepreneur. And she's like a best-selling author. She's a podcast host. She's a doctor of physical therapy, holistic physical therapy. She's done so much. And the best thing about her is that she helps transform people. That's why I wanted her to speak today, because she helps people transform and perform much better. So, Dr. Samantha Hart, the floor is yours. Thank you. Give her a hand.
Hi. Thank you. Hello. Can you guys hear me? Turn me up. I'm up?
Yep.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Okay, so I'm a storyteller, so it's story time. Are we ready? In 2002, I did something that shocked the people who knew and loved me, and I dropped out of Boston University to pursue my dreams of becoming a star. And for context, this is when Britney Spears performed with the snake around her neck at the VMAs. And I was like, move over, girl, I'm coming for you. So I go back to New York City, which is where I'm from, and I start the audition process. And I see this job opportunity to be a go-go dancer in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Now, by the way, that was not the dream, but I figured I could nail that one. And yes, I had clothes on, just not that many. I got the job. I started taking a Greyhound bus for 3 hours down to Atlantic City. It was not glamorous at all, but when I got to the Taj Mahal and I walked into the casino, it was like a star was born. Every girl there wanted to be the next big thing. Everybody was beautiful and talented. And I really thought, this is the beginning of something epic. And then I fell in love with a guy. But that's not what the story is about. It is part of it, though. I didn't just fall in love with a guy, I also fell in love with drugs and alcohol. Because, man, there was a voice inside my head that was unrelenting, that said, you are not pretty enough, you are not smart enough, you are not thin enough. And try pursuing stardom with that voice in your head. I tried, but the drinking and drugging really picked up because I needed something to anesthetize that pain. And eventually, I just went back to school because school was so safe and seductive. It was an if this, then that equation. If I study hard enough, then I will get the A. If I get the A, then I'll graduate top of class. And if I graduate top of class, I'll get the degree and nobody can take it from me and I'll have a job. And that's what I want, right? Or is it? But that's what felt safe to me. I didn't have a sense of safety on the inside, so I searched for it externally. So I graduate in 2010 with doctor in front of my name. Ooh, so sexy, right? My mama was so proud. And I was excited to be a practitioner. I was excited to help people. And the guy that I fell in love with in Atlantic City, New Jersey, became my boyfriend, and then my fiance, and he really wanted to move to California. And I went on my first job in New York City, and I was asked to treat 5 patients in the first hour of ever being a licensed practitioner. Even though I had asked them to ease me into my work, I wanted to be good at what I did. They didn't care. They wanted me to raise the bottom line. So I quit, and I said to my fiance, let's go to California. But also, if we go to California, let's make sure to be in LA, just in case my dreams of wanting to be a star still come to fruition. So we come out to California, and I'm thinking, this is a brand new start. I got this fancy degree, I got the guy by my side, and I'm newly sober. I nearly died from a cocaine overdose, but I made it. And then I get a job 9 blocks from the Pacific Ocean. Amazing clinic, orthopedic outpatient facility. I was treating athletes and all kinds of bodies and personalities. But I was making $33 an hour. And I was $100,000 in debt. And I was building somebody else's dream. And I thought, is this it? Is this what I went to school for? And also, where are all these people going when insurance decides you're well enough, so we're going to discharge you now? Because I grew up dancing. I want to be the 95-year-old embarrassing my children at the party and dropping it like it's hot. So what happens in that extension of care? Who's taking care of you guys from 60% to 100%? I wonder if that could be me. But the thing is, that guy that was my fiance, he became my husband, and all the ramifications of things that happened in my active addiction, they showed up on the front end of my marriage, and it was falling apart. And I was so used to perfecting the world around me. I was so good at controlling, managing, and manipulating people, places, things, and situations because it was a survival skill I learned as a girl. And then I doubled down on it in school. And I got accolades for it. Well, it turns out perfectionism collapses in matters of the heart. And there was nothing I could say or do with my husband to change his mind, to make him forgive me for what happened when I was using. And as I tried, I grew insane with rage and anxiety. So here I was on the outside. I had a doctorate, I had a job, I had a fancy degree, I was married, I lived in West LA, and I was dying inside, and I was broke. Physically abstinent, spiritually bankrupt. Why am I telling you this? Because this was rock bottom. It wasn't when I overdosed on cocaine. It was right here in this moment when I didn't want to die, but I could no longer go on living the way I was living. I had to establish a sense of safety inside if I was ever going to be able to take a risk out there in the big, scary world. So this woman in the 12-step programs, which I was a part of, begrudgingly, came up to me and said, what if we do the steps on your marriage? What if we stop focusing on drugs and alcohol? You know you're powerless over that. But do you know that you're powerless over your husband and every other person, place, thing, or situation, by the way? And that when you try to exert power over everything that you can't control, your life becomes unmanageable? Well, boy, I could see unmanageability now. So we trudge through the steps in this way. And I'm having spiritual breakthroughs. We get to the 9th step, which is making an amends, and I'm dreading it. I'm thinking, how many times do I have to apologize to this man for what I did? And she said, no. Have you ever made an amends to yourself? And I hadn't. I was a die-hard perfectionist. Run on self-ridicule. The idea of letting myself off the hook for anything was unimaginable to me until this woman gave me a permission slip. And once I started to interrupt the critical voice in my head, an amazing thing happened. I had a way to clear the shame, and I could hear the whisper of my intuition. And that part of me had been silenced for decades. And that's the part that said, you should start your own business. You might be really good at it. A little startled by that suggestion, felt really scary. But the sound of her voice was so different than the critical voice because it was clear, it was calm, it was curious, and it was compassionate. It wasn't obsessive. And so I trusted it. And in this apartment, in my marital separation, where I was doing all this healing work, Strong Heart Fitness was born. And that was in 2013. And yes, I reconciled with my husband and we're still married today. And I expanded into multiple different practices. Yeah. Strong Heart has taken on many iterations. It changed again and again. It changed during the pandemic. I had to mobilize and move my business online and make a hard pivot real quick. And I kept going to these meetings and I kept navigating life sober, taking all the tools with me into my practice as a clinician. And I kept noticing this presentation of soul sickness in the patient. These people, these ordinary, well-to-do folks north of Montana are coming in with back pain and knee pain and rotator cuff tears, but they're also struggling with things like people-pleasing, hyperproductivity, perfectionism, and it's getting in the way of their physical body getting better. And it bothered me. It was like an itch that I couldn't scratch. But I didn't know what I was going to do about it. Who was I to treat the spirit? I was a body expert, right? And then on March 13th of 2022, I got the phone call that I had been dreading, which is that my big sister Jessica died of a drug overdose. Yeah. I'm not the only addict in my family. That day, that little whisper became a roar. And that part of me said, you're going to write a book. I didn't know what I was going to write a book about. I just knew I had a book in me. And I knew the book had to tackle the spiritual presentation of health and wellness. So I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And I tried to get picked up by a publisher. And when they didn't pick me up, I didn't care because I was going to write the book anyway. And eventually, I found my people. And they said, what do you want this thing to be about? Is it the stories of your life? Is it just a great memoir? Or is it prescriptive somehow? Is it self-helpy? And I said, yeah, I think it needs to be prescriptive. After all, I have doctor in front of my name. And they said, well, what helped you the most? Well, that was easy. When I worked the 12 steps in a modern and trauma-informed way, and I had that breakthrough in my marriage. And I have since been using those steps in every business transaction, in every friendship, in every difficult marital dynamic that has come up since we've reconciled. That's what this book is. It's not a memoir. It's a movement. Well, it turns out you finish writing a book and you feel like, oh, I just did such an amazing thing. I wrote a fucking book. But it's not the end of anything. It's the beginning of everything. Nobody knows about me and my book. How am I going to get the message out? How am I going to change people's lives? How am I going to bring the 12 steps to the whole world? Well, guess what? I created my own stage. I wasn't going to wait for someone to tap me on the shoulder and say, I'm a good enough speaker now. And then Heart Conscious Creators was born, which is my LA event, where I build community and connection, and we talk about the integration of mind, body, and spirit, health, and wellness. Turns out I love public speaking, and I now have an agent. And I travel all over the country. talking to fine folks like you who want to level up in all areas of their lives. The amazing gift of the dying is that if we're willing to lean in to our suffering long enough to transcend it, is that they can teach us how to fully live. So I know everybody here wants to make money. Money matters. We should want those things. If you want that, that means it was meant for you. Keep wanting it. But if you want to be a financial mogul, then become a spiritual billionaire first. Thank you.